brilliant speed with vibrant service, vibrant broadband internet.
How about that? It's 10:30, and it is time for you folks to take over the studio at Vibrant U. Billy.
Thank you, Woody. Welcome to Vibrant U Live. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Beau.
Who?
Beau. We have Beau on with us today.
It's been a little bit.
It's been a while. Yeah, he's been busy this spring.
Yeah. As Taylor Swift said, I forgot you existed.
Yeah, I've been elbow deep in diapers, so yeah.
There you go.
Well,
missed that.
Tonight we have a Dreaming of Streaming event in Paynesville, and we'll give some details on that later. Mm-hmm. And so, like typically when we have a streaming event, we do talk about streaming. So today we're going to talk about streaming updates and VC box updates, commonly known as black boxes. We'll talk a little bit about that. But just to start out, Jane, give us a comparison between streaming with like traditional cable or satellite.
Sure. So cable is kind of the first that came out with everything, and that is just its own connection to. You get your entertainment through your own connection. It's probably like a coax cable.
It's kind of like its own wire coming up to the house, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then we have satellite, and that is something that's coming radio waves. So you pretty much
from
have
the sky.
Yes, so you pretty much have a dish on your house of some kind, and then both methods of those, you look at the channels and they're already pre-programmed, and you're kind of just stuck with whatever they decide.
So CSI Miami is on at 8 o'clock on Tuesday, and that's when it's on, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And streaming offers more on-demand things. So streaming tends to be a little bit more less rigid when it comes to the content. And then, so streaming, you get to have entertainment delivered through your internet, so you need a solid internet connection, and that brings a lot of advantages through entertainment choices, how you want to use devices, just a bunch of different options, and then the components that you need for streaming, and we'll talk more about this tonight. So the first thing is, like I said, you need an internet connection, a solid high-speed internet connection that's reliable, like Vibrant.
Of course.
Like Vibrant.
And then the devices. So devices might be something like Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV. Those are the devices that are going to make your TV smart. And then after that, you're going to need the services. So basically, what kind of TV do you look for? What kind of channels do you like? What is your content? So you get to pick that for yourself, and that's the part that kind of gets a little overwhelming because there's just so much out there. So you can look at like Disney Plus, Netflix, YouTube TV, Hulu Live, and then there's other things like channels. So just the little, like if you want to fill your day with something else, you might want to look at other things that exist, and you can just purchase that channel. Like
so the channels are like ABC, NBC, like your TV channels.
Well, the other thing too is, a lot of people want to watch a church channel. So then, we do the app, that kind of thing. That's what I was talking about.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of streaming out there, and it evolves. So, Beau, take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, in comparison to like cable and satellite, streaming is pretty new. It's kind of in its infancy, so we're seeing changes every couple months. You'll see some sort of adjustment, maybe one company absorbing another company, and it started off with there's so many different options, and it's kind of how it is right now, where maybe like I think the average person has about 5 different streaming services. I think that's pretty common. Some people have more, some people have like 10. But I think what we're going to see as this goes on is people are going to be combining companies, and we're even seeing that now. So like one of the biggest streaming stories right now is that Disney and Fubo have joined forces together, and Disney already has its combination of Disney, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. So that's been around for a while, but I think it's just going to be, people want kind of a one-stop shop, and streaming started off where there's so many different apps, and now I think it's just going to be combining as we go along. And then Roku even acquired Friendly, and Friendly is one that maybe isn't as well known, but we recommend it because it's got kind of a best like bang for your buck. It's got a lot of good channels, like a history channel, and it's just at a really good price. So you'll see companies that are big like Roku acquiring maybe something smaller like Friendly, and that happened last year in May. And so you're going to see that as maybe best for the consumer, because instead of having to have all these apps, we can maybe condense it down a little bit. And I love Roku. That's one of the biggest things. And right now that's evolving into, instead of just a device you get from Target or Walmart, it's actually your own entertainment hub where you have all free options on the Roku channel, who are now doing their own, movies. I mean, you have a lot of just Roku content that you don't have to pay for, other than just getting the device itself. So that's kind of one of the biggest trends. You'll see a lot of things kind of consolidating into one. And Shane's going to go into a little bit more news into streaming device.
I was watching a movie this past weekend, and it was on the Roku channel, and I wanted to watch Project Hail Mary. So that was a movie that came out earlier this year, and I heard good things about it. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could rent that. So I went on to the Roku, did a search for Project Hail Mary, and I noticed that it was streaming on MGM if you're subscribed to MGM Plus, which I was. And I think MGM Plus, if I remember right, it's like $6 a month through the Roku channel.
Oh, okay.
So I was able to watch Project Hail Mary over the weekend.
Yeah. So all you had to do was go there and do a search.
Yep, I did a search. It told me where it was available to stream. I expected to pay a rent fee for it, but it was on MGM for free to watch. Free meaning if you're subscribed to MGM Plus, right? Mm-hmm. But there's also some streaming device news that's coming out recently, and one of the biggest stories now, is that Fox announced an agreement to purchase Roku.
Oh.
Yeah, and that could be big. So Fox owns Tubi, and Tubi is a free ad-supported streaming service that is owned by Fox. And Roku, of course, its Roku channel, that's huge. That's one of the biggest streaming free apps out there. And you can get the Roku channel now on Fire Stick and on Apple and on Google. So it's not just available on Roku. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic where Fox has Tubi, and then they'll also own the Roku channel. But they bought it for more than just that, because Roku has a bunch of devices, and
I mean devices.
Well, Roku is a streaming device,
right?
And they've got different versions of that device. So they've got a $20 version, and then they've got all the way up to a $100 version, right? With different features on each one. But it is the most popular streaming device out there, Roku is, of all the devices. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic once that goes through. Amazon also is making changes to their Fire Stick. So they're moving away from the Android-based Fire OS, Fire operating system that they've developed when they first came out. And they have a new one now, a new in-house operating system that they developed, they call the Vega OS. And they're saying that it's going to be faster. It's also going to be more AI integrated. So rather than searching for titles, they're going to have you can talk to it like a person. As an example, an example that I saw was, instead of saying, I want to watch the movie with John McClane in it, you say, I want to take me to the scene where John McClane says, "Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs." Okay. So
if you don't know the name of the movie, that'll help you.
Right. So Apple and Google are doing the same thing. They're adding more AI features to their streaming devices as well. So that's kind of the next big thing. And it's not going to be, which device is better than the other, but it's going to be which device makes it easier, which is going to be simpler for people to use. And that's kind of the biggest, the thing that's coming up next is making things easy, making streaming easier. I mean, and once you get used to it, I think it's easy. But when you first get into it, it does get, it's kind of confusing to start with.
It's a little learning curve, yep.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is. And another streaming device that we want to talk about or touch on are VC boxes or black boxes. And Jane, give us a kind of an idea of what that is.
Sure. Well, this is the latest and greatest right now, right?
Well, I don't know if it's the latest and greatest.
I know.
It is.
Everybody seems to think it is. So
It is
preface it.
popular.
Yes.
Okay.
All
Popular.
right. So it's very similar to Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, in the fact that you can stream from that device. And the generic term that we use is the black box, and a lot of them are Android operating systems, and you can stream from those, and they're sold as one of the entertainment boxes.
Kind of an all-in-one.
Yes. This includes the jailbroken or hacked Fire TV devices running the Android operating system. And that's another reason why Amazon is moving away from that.
Yeah, I watched a video, it was earlier this year, it was probably a couple months ago, and it was a podcaster who interviewed a person who got caught selling jailbroken Fire Sticks at a flea market down in Florida, and he spent some time in jail for doing that. Yeah, it was an interesting podcast.
So the hardware, the black box hardware itself, is generally legal, and it functions similar to what we've talked about with the popular streaming devices that we know. They tend to cost more. They're usually about $300. And it doesn't necessarily offer more functionality than a Roku or a Fire Stick, if you will. Where the risk comes is the software. So the app can be installed on your device, and it depends on where you purchased it and what you select as buttons to choose. And you can, the software supposedly lets you watch free TV, including local channels, along with free sports and free movies and free shows that you would normally need to purchase.
Right.
So again, am I sounding like red flag alert, right? So whether through a streaming device like Hulu, like the services for Hulu Live and Disney, you're paying for that. And in the black box, you're not paying for those.
So that's what, it's called side loading an app. These boxes are Android based, and so are the older Amazon Fire Sticks. So that Android is an open source operating system. So these apps that do this type of streaming, they can be loaded onto these Android devices, and that's where the risk comes in. And these apps, you don't know where they're coming from and that kind of thing. Whereas with a Roku, an Apple TV, a Google TV, or a Fire TV, the new Vega OS version, they don't allow these apps on their platform. So you can't even get these apps, and that's why these boxes are becoming, or have become, somewhat popular. So go ahead and talk about some of the things that have been happening with these boxes.
Yeah, well, it's just one of the, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is type of situations. And, what's changed recently is that the courts, broadcasters, sports leagues, all the shows and, sporting events are being now viewed for free. They're cracking down on that because they want the revenue, and that's just how it's always been. Same thing happened back in the day with, if you remember, Napster with music. You can go and download a bunch of free music. It happened for a while, and then eventually the courts cracked down on that. And just the same thing's going to be happening here, where it's maybe available now, but eventually fines are going to be passed out. People are going to be, like Shane had mentioned, going to jail for things like this. And you just want to be careful with what you're putting on the device. just like if you have a computer, you can go use email just fine. But if you're downloading movies that are still in theaters and sending them to people, it's not the device, it's what's being used on it that's the issue. And that's what we just have to, caution people with. And some people just don't know. They're like, oh, this is great, I can watch this for free. But, that is going to come with some issues. And so just understand that it's not a magic technology, these black boxes, and it's probably not going to be something that's going to last for very long. So, we kind of use the analogy, a Honda Civic can be, driven to a bank and you can go in and withdraw your funds. But if you are driving to the bank to rob it, that's going to be an issue. It's not that the car is the problem. It's the intent and what you're using it for. That's the issue. So that's just kind of what we're trying to get across here.
Yeah. And beyond...
I promise. I'm not doing it.
Right. Beyond the legal risks, there's security and privacy concerns with those apps. If you don't know the origin, you don't know, is it sending data back to that country or back to a nefarious website? Who knows, right? So there's some risks there.
There's the nefarious word.
Yep, nefarious. And, again, the biggest risk isn't maybe what you're watching. It's what the app is watching, right? So that's some of the things that we found out. Just understand the box is legal. It's legal to use. You can use it legitimately. You can download the Netflix app, the Disney Plus app, all those, and then, pay for it. It's an inexpensive streaming device compared to a Roku or even an Apple TV. However, just be cautious in how it's used. We've seen instances where these devices generate significant internet traffic and it kind of, for lack of a better term, clogs up the entire bandwidth some houses have, and so it's basically the software itself is doing that. So when that happens, we just tell people, hey, get rid of that box and you'll be okay, and they are. Unplug it, you're fine. So anyway, that's kind of the risks on those boxes itself.
And as for streaming, it's the best, most reliable, flexible way to watch entertainment, and it's legitimate, and it's available today.
Yeah.
So if you have more questions and want to come check us out, we are going to be at Paynesville tonight at the Green Roof Community Center, 5:30, if you want to learn more about streaming. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, give us a call at 693-3231 or learn about us at vibrantbroadband.com. Catch the replay on Facebook and YouTube channel. Search for Vibrant Broadband, and then listen live every Wednesday at 10:30 on KLFD.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, for having us.
You bet.
Thank you, audience, for listening. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Beau.
Tune in next week for another Vibrant You Live.
Brilliant speed with vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet. Vibrant broadband internet.